Captain Saito gazed out the viewport of the bridge aboard the ISS Nobunaga. In the black void before him floated an armada of alien vessels, at least 100 of them, their angular silhouettes painted in the pale light of the distant star. They had come upon his small scout ship without warning and immediately opened fire, crippling the Nobunaga's engines before he could make the jump to FTL. Now he was stranded, alone in this uncharted system with no means of escape and an entire alien fleet intent on destroying him. His ship only had basic defenses that would be useless against such numbers. It seemed his mission of exploration would end here. Saito turned from the viewport. "Engineering, report on our status." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Akemi, spoke over the comm. "Our main engines are dead, Captain. We took a direct hit that fried the plasma manifolds. They're going to take at least a week to repair." A week they did not have. Saito pondered their next move. "Divert any available power to weapons and shields. I want those systems running at maximum." "Aye, sir," Akemi replied. "Shields are at 60% and charge weapons. It's not much against that fleet, but it's the best I can do." Saito nodded grimly. Their only hope was to make the aliens pay dearly for every ship they lost taking down the Nobunaga. He would fight to his last breath to protect Earth from these unknown aggressors. "Captain," cried the sensor officer, "the enemy fleet is powering weapons. They're charging particle lances and missiles." Within moments, the first volley of destruction was unleashed. Pink energy lances lashed out, carving white-hot gashes through the Nobunaga's shields. Missiles swarmed around them, explosions rocking the small ship. Sparks flew from consoles as systems overloaded. "Shields down to 20%, Akemi shouted. Saito gripped the armrests of his chair, his knuckles turning white. "Target their lead ship and fire all weapons." The Nobunaga's meager weapons opened up. Twin plasma cannons and swarms of missiles streaking out into the void. They found their mark, the concentrated fire erupting against the alien flagship in a brilliant fireball. When the flash faded, the crippled hulk drifted, its hull split open like a cracked egg. A small victory, but one that brought Saito hope. His ship might be overmatched, but they would make the aliens pay in blood for every centimeter. Another volley from the fleet pounded the Nobunaga, sparks raining from conduits all over the dimming bridge. "Shields are gone," Akemi reported through the flickering comm, taking heavy damage across all decks. Saito clenched his jaw. It seemed their end had come, but they would go down fighting. "Divert all power to weapons. Target the nearest ships and fire at will." A grim silence fell over the bridge as the battle continued its inevitable conclusion. Outside, the massed alien fleet converged, lances stabbing out like shining swords. A direct hit punched through the Nobunaga's hull, emergency seals slamming shut behind the tearing metal. Another followed, and another, each new blow shaking the stricken ship to her core. Explosions now rocked the decks in cadence, fires breaking out as the life support failed. On the bridge, consoles exploded in showers of sparks, emergency lights flickering the last few moments of life. Through the flickering gloom, Saito watched the viewport, waiting for the final blow. Outside, the alien fleet moved in for the kill, dozens of ships peeling away from the main group to finish off the crippled human vessel. They closed in like carrion birds, lances aglow, seeking to rip the Nobunaga apart. But suddenly, a vast shape emerged from the flickering nebula behind them, a gleaming titan the size of a small moon, brandishing mass drivers large enough to annihilate entire planets. This was no alien ship. It was the ISS Yamato, the mightiest craft mankind had ever built, one that made even the alien armada seem small and insignificant. Aboard the Yamato's bridge, Captain Murakami watched the tactical display unfold, anger lighting her eyes. "Status report," she barked. "Scans detect the Nobunaga is heavily damaged but still intact." "Their life signs are fading," replied her XO, Commander Hatano. Murakami slammed her fist onto the armrest. "Target the alien ships engaging the Nobunaga and fire mass drivers at will." The massed barrels of the Yamato's weapons glowed briefly before unleashing hell. Spiraling slugs of pure tungsten smashed into the unprepared alien ships like bullets, obliterating them in blinding nuclear fireballs. Crippled hulks tumbled away from the impacts, leaking plasma and atmosphere. Within moments, the alien attack had been wiped out, leaving only wreckage and ions in its wake. Murakami let out a shout of primal triumph that echoed through the bridge. "Retarget main guns on the enemy fleet. I want them all annihilated." The Yamato opened up with a furious barrage against the suddenly panicking alien armada. Lances that could scour continents flashed out, reducing squadrons of ships to powder with each shot. Missiles arced away from hidden silos, flooding space with annihilating explosions. Step by step, the massed alien numbers were whittled down under the Yamato's fury. Seeing the tide turning against them, the surviving aliens broke and fled into hyperspace, abandoning their crippled comrades. Within the hour, the once mighty armada had been utterly destroyed, their shattered husks drifting lifeless amid spreading plasma clouds. Murakami relaxed slightly as the tactical display showed the last enemy contact vanish. "Order a medical team to the Nobunaga. Save any survivors," she said, rising from her chair. No humans would be left behind this day. Their enemy had learned a harsh lesson: to tread lightly around mankind and its indomitable defenders. Saito stirred weakly aboard the ruined Nobunaga bridge, smoke still curling around him. Through drifting ash, he saw the viewport, now depicting a gleaming salvation, the mountainous superstructure of the ISS. Yamato gently eclipsed the stars. Help had arrived, and the alien armada had been avenged. His final thoughts before unconsciousness took him were of gratitude for Earth's staunchest protectors, who would stand against any threat to safeguard humanity's destiny among the stars. The storm showed no signs of letting up as Ichiro raced through the forest. Drops of rain pelted his jacket as he shoved branches out of the way, following the trail of broken twigs and disturbed undergrowth left by the girl. Though exhaustion pulled at his muscles, he pushed on, determined to discover what secrets lay in these woods. As he ran, Ichiro's mind drifted to how he arrived at this moment. He had grown up in a small village nestled in these same forests, though at the time they felt boundless and full of possibility. Even as a boy, Ichiro felt drawn to exploring their hidden depths. While the other children played by the river or helped their parents in the fields, Ichiro spent his days climbing trees, mapping game trails and cataloging the different plants and fungi he came across. His curiosity often got him into trouble. Once he had wandered so far that it took him until nightfall to find his way home, arriving cold, wet, and terrified, only to be scolded by his worried mother. Another time he had startled a badger from its den and been chased through the underbrush by the furious animal. But no punishment or danger could deter Ichiro from his explorations. The forest held secrets, and he was determined to uncover them all. As he grew older, Ichiro's curiosity only expanded. While the villagers were content with their simple lives, Ichiro yearned to understand more of the world beyond the tree line. He devoured any books he could get his hands on, soaking up knowledge about science, history, philosophy, and anything else he could learn. His passion for discovery began to feel at odds with the expectations of village life. He knew that if he stayed, he would never achieve his dreams of traveling, learning, and uncovering hidden truths. The opportunity for escape came when Ichiro turned 18. He had impressed some scholars from the city with his intelligence and appetite for learning during their visit. They offered to sponsor his education at the prestigious Tokyo University if he was willing to relocate. Ichiro didn't hesitate, knowing this was his chance to begin a new chapter beyond the borders of the village and forest he had always known. For 4 years, Ichiro thrived in the bustling city, soaking up all the university had to offer. He studied botany, anthropology, geology, zoology, and anything else that piqued his intellectual curiosity. His professors quickly recognized his talent and passion for discovery. Though Ichiro missed the serenity of the forest, he loved the abundance of resources and opportunities the city provided. One day, Ichiro came across a thesis written by a now famous professor from his home village, detailing unusual anomalies and folk tales from the surrounding forest. Intrigued, Ichiro began researching further, uncovering accounts of strange lights, disappearances, and purported supernatural occurrences among the ancient trees. It reignited his passion for exploration and mystery. He knew this would make the perfect topic for his final thesis project. And so, Ichiro found himself back in the forest of his youth. At first, it was comforting to walk trails he knew so well. But it didn't take long before he began uncovering new mysteries, footprints that couldn't be identified, odd formations of rocks and plants, and signs that something unusual inhabited the dense cover of trees. His discovery of the mysterious girl chased by a monstrous shadow pushed his search into high gear. Now, racing through the storm, he was more determined than ever to solve the enigma of these haunted woods. Up ahead, Ichiro spotted a break in the foliage where the trees gave way to a small clearing. Slowing to a stop, he crept forward cautiously and peered out. In the center, barely visible through the heavy rainfall, stood the strange girl cloaked all in white. Her back was to Ichiro as she stared straight ahead, unmoving even as the wind and rain battered her slender form. Following her gaze, Ichiro stumbled back in astonishment. Rising from the depths of the eerie wood was a hulking monolith, the likes of which Ichiro had never seen before. Moss-covered and weathered, it towered impossibly high into the stormy sky like a petrified tree. But its unnatural geometric edges and symmetries revealed it was no natural formation. Strange sigils and symbols were carved into its ancient stone, their meanings lost to time. An aura of watchful menace and unseen power seemed to emanate from the immense structure. Ichiro barely had time to take it in when suddenly a roar tore through the trees behind him, shaking loose droplets of water. Whirling around, he glimpsed a massive shadow detaching itself from the forest shadows. 8 glowing eyes peered from its misshapen head as it leered down at Ichiro with a mouthful of vicious fangs. His heart pounding, Ichiro realized he was trapped between the monster and the enigmatic girl. "Come with me if you want to live," called a soft voice that didn't seem to belong to the petite girl before him. She still hadn't turned, but stood gazing intently at the obelisk. Without looking back, she began walking towards the towering monolith. The shadow creature loosed another roar as it crept forward, cutting off Ichiro's escape back into the forest. His options were limited: be crushed by the monster or place his trust in the mysterious apparition. With no time to think further, Ichiro bolted after the girl, splashing through the mud. She led him unswervingly towards the base of the immense stone edifice, seeming unconcerned with the abomination fast on their heels. Reaching the damp stone, the girl sprang forward and pressed her small hand against its slick surface. With a groan like awakening titans, a section of the monolith scraped open, revealing a passageway sunk into the rock. Without hesitation, she glided inside. Ichiro scrambled after, glancing back to see the shadow creature's mouth agape as it lunged. He threw himself into the dark tunnel just as gnashing teeth snapped closed behind him. The portal grated shut, sealing them in eternal twilight. Gasping for air, Ichiro rolled over onto his back to peer up at the girl silhouetted against the faint light filtering in from some unseen source. Only now did she turn, allowing Ichiro his first clear glimpse of her pale, beautiful features and deep, purple eyes that seemed to hold untold mysteries within. When she spoke, her melodic voice was calm and wise beyond her years. "Welcome, Ichiro Okuchi, to the true secrets of this ancient place. I am Mist, and there is much I must show you." She extended a delicate hand to help him rise. "Come, and I will explain what strange fate has brought you to this moment, for your part in the prophecy is only just beginning." Bewildered yet compelled, Ichiro took her hand and rose unsteadily to his feet. He had a feeling that, from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same again. This girl Mist, the monstrous shadow, the enigmatic obelisk, all held answers to mysteries that had drawn him back to this forest since childhood. At last, the hidden truths were within his grasp, though what lay ahead was as shrouded as the tunnels they now traveled deeper into the earth. Ichiro followed Mist through the winding tunnels by the faint blue glow that emanated from her delicate form. Though questions swirled in his mind, something about her serene presence calmed his nerves. After what felt like hours of twisting passages, they arrived at a massive cavern lit by luminous moss and fungi that carpeted the rocky walls. Mist turned to Ichiro. This place was once a sanctuary, but now darkness has found its way inside. Her melodic voice took on a note of sadness. "The entity that chased us is but a symptom of a greater threat stirring below." Before Ichiro could respond, the cavern quaked with a rumble like distant thunder. From a tunnel high above, taloned feet emerged, followed by a misshapen body that unfolded to reveal leathery wings. Two glowing eyes fixed on them from an angular reptilian head. "That is one of Akuma's spawn," Mist said grimly. "We must move quickly." She glided across the cavern as the monster took flight. Ichiro followed, drawing closer to inspect a formation embedded in the stone floor. Gleaming metal alloys were fused amongst the rocks, circuitry and crystals blinking within aged casings. "Ancient technology?" Ichiro gasped. Mist nodded. "This place housed unspeakable knowledge. We must activate the defenses." She placed a hand on the array and blue light pulsed outwards in cascading waves. From above, an inhuman shriek split the air as energized barriers sprung up, rippling the creature's form. It crashed to the floor, thrashing madly as its body disintegrated. Their victory was short-lived as the cavern quaked more violently. Loose stones rained down and Ichiro pulled Mist clear of a falling boulder. Through the rubble, twin spots of hellish red glared hungrily. A harsh voice reverberated off the walls. "My children have grown restless in the dark for too long. Now they feast." The beast that appeared was unlike anything Ichiro had witnessed on the surface. Its twisted, wolf-like form was sheathed in armored plating that rippled with unnatural power, but it was the gleaming crimson eyes and twisted intelligence within that truly unnerved him. "That is Akuma," Mist whispered, eyes wide. The demon swept its gaze around assessingly before fixing on them. "Two morsels come to sate the hunger of my kin. You will make a fine offering, little lights." It charged with startling speed on all fours. Ichiro shoved Mist aside as razor claws swiped where they had stood. Rolling to his feet, he scanned for a weakness in its plated hide as it wheeled for another attack. Mist's voice rang clearly through the chaos. "Ichiro, the crystal! It can focus our energies!" On the platform above, a glowing gem pulsed in tune with the machinery. If he could get Mist there, perhaps they stood a chance. Akuma barreled towards them once more. At the last moment, Ichiro lunged and grabbed its thrashing tail, using its momentum to swing himself up onto its spiked carapace. The demon writhed and snarled, bucking madly to dislodge its unwanted passenger. Ichiro clung on with all his strength, gouging at chinks in its armor with his dagger. Below, Mist sprinted towards the platform, evading snapping jaws and flailing limbs with preternatural grace. Reaching her destination, she placed delicate hands upon the crystal. Power surged through her as ancient mechanisms responded to her call. Light gathered at her fingertips, swirling into a blinding beam. With a heave, Ichiro wrenched off a plating of Akuma's hide, exposing vulnerable flesh beneath. He plunged his dagger into the hilt, just as Mist released her gathered energy in a searing lance. The demon howled in agony, thrashing violently as light and blade ravaged its form. With one final convulsion, it collapsed, body twitching before dissolving into ash. Ichiro leapt clear, chest heaving as triumph and residual adrenaline coursed through him. Mist floated down and took his hands in hers. "You fought bravely. Together, perhaps we can succeed where others have failed." She gazed into his eyes, starlight dancing in their depths. "Come, there is more you must see." Beyond lay a vast chamber lined with towering obelisks like the one above ground. Circular runes pulsed with an inner radiance across polished floors. In the center, stone steps ascended to a domed dais upon which sat an ornate throne. Mist gestured to their surroundings. "This was the seat of knowledge and guardianship for your people since time out of mind. But evil has infected this sacred place." A tremor shook the chamber, and the throne room flashed blindingly white. When Ichiro's vision cleared, an abomination like nothing of this world towered before the throne, eyes ablaze. Its twisted form seemed stitched together from the bones and limbs of many. "You dare disturb Akuma's rest, little lights," it growled in 1,000 voices. "For that you will provide fuel for my designs." The monstrosity lurched towards them far quicker than its bulk should allow. Mist summoned her power, but it was knocked aside with casual ease. Horror clutched Ichiro's heart as he saw Akuma's grip close around her slender form. "No!" he cried, charging with dagger raised desperately. But he was swatted away like an insect, crashing to the floor stunned and bleeding. Through blurred vision, he watched helplessly as Mist weakly struggled within Akuma's grasp. The demon's maw split impossibly wide to reveal an endless abyss within. Mist was pulled ever closer, her glow fading as life was drained away. Despair and rage warred within Ichiro's weary body. He had failed to protect the one who had saved him. All would be lost to the darkness. Then, against all reasoning, vigor surged through Ichiro's veins, banishing pain and fatigue. His mind cleared with crystalline purpose. Slowly, he rose, hands clenching into fists as power gathered within, visible only as a shimmering aura. Ichiro threw back his head and roared. Pure light erupted from his form in a shockwave, rippling the very air. Akuma howled, the sound corroding stone, as its hold on Mist faltered. She fell limp to the floor, light flickering feebly. Ichiro glided to her side, taking her in his arms with tenderness belying his fury. Power continued to swell within until it could be contained no more. Light burst from him in a beam to sear Akuma's flesh. Again and again, Ichiro unleashed destruction until nothing remained but ashes upon cracked tiles. The chamber grew still once more as Ichiro's glow dissipated. He gazed down at Mist's pale face, anguished by her lack of response. A glimmer caught his eye. The star within her fading irises flickered weakly. "You awakened." "The light," she breathed faintly. A smile played upon her lips even in death's embrace. Triumph and sorrow warred within Ichiro as power and purpose sang through his veins. He had avenged Mist, but the cost had been too high. A groan echoed from the chamber's depths, pulling him from grief's grasp. Deep below, something colossal was stirring, clawing its way towards awareness after eons of slumber. Ichiro rose, mist cradled gently in his arms. The battle was won, but the true ordeal was only just beginning, and Ichiro would be ready, for her sake and the world above. The light was his to wield now against the darkness. Ichiro carried Mist's still form through the ancient tunnels, his grief mingling with the wellspring of power that now flowed through his veins. Though vengeance had been achieved, victory tasted bitter without her guidance. He followed the dwindling flickers of her inner light, hoping it would lead him from this place of shadows. After what seemed like an eternity, Ichiro emerged into the cavern where their journey first began. Pale starlight filtered down from a sliver of open sky far above, casting the solemn scene in an eerie glow. Gently, Ichiro laid Mist's body upon a bed of soft moss. Her radiance had faded to a faint glow, but he refused to believe her song had ended. Kneeling at her side, Ichiro took one of her delicate hands in his. "Please, Mist, your work is not finished. The darkness may yet return, and the light will need a guardian." His voice broke as tears glistened upon his cheeks, glimmering like fallen stars. "I can't face this alone. I need you." A glow blossomed within Ichiro's chest, warmth and purpose flowing into his touch. Light pulsed from his fingertips into Mist's form, renewing her flickering spark. Slowly, color returned to her pallid features. Her starry eyes fluttered open to meet his gaze, holding wonder and gratitude beyond words. Rising shakily, Mist placed a hand upon Ichiro's cheek. "Your heart called me back from the edge of twilight. A pure light now dwells within you, burning bright with purpose." Her smile was radiant. "Come, there is work yet to be done." Together they retraced their steps, following the whispering echoes of a presence awakening in the depths. Ichiro's determination was steel, yet a seed of doubt lingered. Would his newfound abilities be enough against an ancient evil? As if sensing his thoughts, Mist spoke gently. "Do not fear the shadows of what may come. Face them with the light of hope, wisdom, and compassion." Her words calmed Ichiro's turmoil. They arrived at the throne room to find runes pulsing in an ominous rhythm churning the stale air. From the center, tendrils of shadow swirled upwards, coalescing into a cloaked form on colossal scale. Two orb-like eyes pierced the gloom, simmering with malice. So the intruders return for another futile challenge. "You will make a fine offering to rouse my slumbering master from his prison." The entity gestured and a portion of floor dissolved, revealing a chasm plunging into inky nothingness. From the abyss emerged horrors beyond description, abominations stitched together from the corrupted remnants of humanity. Ichiro summoned his light, determined to shield Mist, but she laid a hand upon his arm. "You cannot fight evil with violence alone. There is a greater power we can call upon." Raising her arms, Mist began to sing. Her melody washed through the chamber like a purifying tide, summoning echoes from the ancient halls. The runes responded, pulsing in harmony until the entire room was awash with blinding radiance. The shadows recoiled from the brilliance, cringing under its holy judgment. Mist's song reached a crescendo that shook loose stones from the vaulted ceiling. A fissure split the floor, spreading outwards to consume the abomination and its monsters. With inhuman shrieks, they were pulled screaming into the yawning chasm. Silence fell once more. Mist turned to Ichiro with a weary smile. "Darkness can be driven back by light and truth, but its roots run deep. There is still work to be done." Together they descended into the abyss, following roots of shadow back to their source. Endless tunnels twisted ahead, but Ichiro's inner flame refused to waver. At last they arrived in a vast cavernous prison, where above a massive geode of ebony crystal pulsed with unholy energy. Within the obsidian heart, a shape began to coalesce, arms that ended in talons, a face of nightmares only hinted at. Malevolent crimson eyes flashed open to fix upon the intruders beneath flickering lids. A voice like the death rattle of worlds echoed forth. So, after centuries, some brave souls come to challenge my slumber. You will make a fine offering to fuel my return to power above. Dark tendrils erupted, lashing out to consume. But Mist was ready, countering each strike with her song of radiance. Ichiro added his light, guiding it into protective shields around them both. The entity howled in rage. "Enough of these games, morsels. I will finish you both myself." The prison groaned and shifted as it struggled to break free after eons entombed. Mist grasped Ichiro's hands. "Together now, with all our combined light and spirit." Their blended essence gathered into a swirling orb of brilliance. With a mental command, Ichiro launched it skyward to impact the obsidian heart full force. A blinding explosion rocked the cavern as lights purged the shadows from every crevice. When vision returned, the massive crystal had shattered, and with it, the darkness it had contained. Silence reigned once more in the tunnels as Ichiro helped Mist to her feet. Their mission was complete at last. The roots of evil burned away. Yet, as they made their way back to the surface, triumph was bittersweet. The fate of this sacred place and its guardianship now fell to them alone against whatever threats may arise in future ages. Ichiro knew his calling had only just begun, but with Mist at his side and the light of hope burning fiercely within them both, there was no challenge they could not face together. As the morning sun broke through foliage above, bathing the forest in warmth once more, a new chapter was written for these hallowed woods and the protectors who would watch over them through the turns of time. Ichiro emerged from the forest entrance bathed in sunlight, Mist at his side. The village lay spread before them, simple homes nestled amongst rice paddies just as he remembered from boyhood. Yet something felt different now. He saw with eyes that had glimpsed wonders and evils beyond mortal ken. Mist gazed upon the scene serenely. "Our task is not yet complete. There is one last test that must be faced before the cycle is renewed." Ichiro knew she spoke truth. Though shadows had been banished from the forest depths, understanding would not come so easily to the superstitious villagers. He steeled himself as they began the walk down the worn path towards collective judgment. Word had spread quickly of Ichiro's disappearance into the haunted woods. As he and Mist emerged from the tree line, uneasy murmurs spread through those working in the fields. Two figures approached. Ichiro recognized the elders who had expounded forest legends to enthralled children, including himself long ago. Reverence vanished from their faces, replaced by skepticism and fear of the unknown. "You claim to have faced monsters and demons, boy?" One elder scoffed. "Return to your studies and leave fantasy for children's tales." Ichiro remained calm. "Grandfather, I speak only truth. There are wonders and dangers in this land beyond your imaginings." The other elder narrowed her eyes. "And who is this stranger you've brought among us?" She gestured to Mist, who stood serenely awaiting judgment. Ichiro took Mist's hand in a show of solidarity and faith in her wisdom. "This is Mist, a guardian of the forest since ages past. She guided me to face threats no single person could withstand." The villagers' unease blossomed into open hostility at the mention of monsters so close to home. Fear and doubt clouded even Ichiro's relatives gathered nearby. He tried again to make them understand through patience and reason, but prejudice had taken root deep. Anger flared in the elder's eyes. "Enough lies, boy. We want no part in your mad delusions. Begone from this place and do not return." The crowd surged forward menacingly as turmoil took hold. Ichiro exchanged a worried glance with Mist. It seemed they faced rejection after saving those who would now condemn them. He steeled himself for what must come next. Ichiro raised his hands, summoning threads of his inner light. Wisps gathered and swirled, coalescing into flickering images that played out before the onlookers. Scenes from the recent battles against Akuma and its brood. Gasps echoed as gruesome apparitions manifested, too real to deny. When the display faded, Ichiro spoke firmly. "This is truth, not fantasy. Evil stirs where you least expect, and without guardians the forest will not remain safe for long." Murmurs arose as doubt set in, but the elders would not relent so easily. "Sorcery! Witchcraft to beguile simple folk! Seize them both!" Villagers closed in, driven by panic into brutality. Ichiro stood resolute between them and Mist, light wreathing his form in a non-violent show of resolve. But their numbers were many, and retreat seemed the sole option remaining. Mist laid a calming hand on his arm. "There is one last thing we can try, though it carries great risk." She turned to address the mob. "Good people, do not be ruled by fear of the unknown. Let one among you face me in honorable combat. If I am bested, we shall leave and trouble you no more. But if I prevail, you must heed the truth and accept our mission of guardianship." Silence fell as her words sunk in. At last, one man stepped forward. Ichiro recognized Hiro, once his closest friend, now consumed by hysteria. Hatred shone in Hiro's eyes as he accepted Mist's terms, drawing his hunting knife with intent to kill. She bowed respectfully to him. "Come then, let us clash with wit and spirit rather than steel." Turning to Ichiro, she added softly, "Have faith, and do not interfere whatever may come to pass." The duel began, though it was unlike any fight of arms. Mist evaded Hiro's slashes with fluid grace, countering each strike not with aggression but philosophy and reason. Her lyrical words wove an intricate tapestry, breaking through the fog of prejudice piece by piece until at last, Hiro's blade slipped from numb fingers in defeat of spirit. Tears filled his eyes as understanding dawned. He fell to his knees before Mist. "Forgive me. You speak only truth which I was blind to see. Please, show us your wisdom that we may atone for the evil in our hearts today." Smiling radiantly, Mist helped Hiro stand once more. As one, the villagers prostrated themselves in repentance. Ichiro breathed a sigh of relief, knowing the forest and village were secured thanks to her higher way. After long moments, he approached his adopted family with compassion. "Mother, father, I have walked paths you cannot imagine. Please believe that I do this only to protect our home, as I always have." Tearfully, they embraced Ichiro with new understanding. His place among the people was restored at last. Mist offered her hands to Ichiro with joy lighting her starry eyes. "The cycle is renewed. Will you stand at my side now and forever as warden of this sacred forest?" Taking her hands in his, Ichiro nodded. "Always, my love. Our mission has only begun." A new era dawned that day for village and woodland alike, guarded by the eternal flame that burned within Ichiro and Mist's hearts. As sunlight faded into twilight, Ichiro knew their story was only the first page in a legend that would echo through ages to come. Where shadows gathered, their light would remain to push back the darkness. For as long as ancient trees stood watch over winding trails and dreaming glades, the protectors would remain.